Hey everyone, and welcome back to Joey's Retro Newscast, where I go over the top news of the last week in retro handhelds, retro gaming, and just gaming in general. I wanted to give a special shout out to those of you that listen on podcast apps because that number grows every week and I keep forgetting to do a shout out about it. But if you didn't know, this is also available on podcast apps. It's why I try not to do so much visuals and just make a lot of it just about news, but it is available there. So thank you to those of you listening on podcast apps. Now, one takeaway from last week is I need to do a better job of separating Joey rants from news. And so we're going to be doing that going forward. We're going to do a lot of news, and then near the end, we'll separate that out to Newscast Q&A, as well as anything that I have to say, all that sort of thing. That way you get your news, and if you want to tune out for questions and answers, you can. But I would suggest that you stick for today because we have a really good question, and I'm sure a lot of you have probably wondered, how do content creators make money? Well, that was one of the questions. I'm going to answer it today. But first, let's talk some news. RPCS3, the PS3 emulator, has a new update on the netplay side of things. There is a list of games that now work online, or were just recently added. There's some BlazBlue, as well as Persona, and more. There is a guide in this Reddit post from the RPCS3 site on how to enable netplay, if that's something that you're interested in, and I would suggest you check it out. This is super cool, but I'm pretty sure I would get destroyed online playing any sort of fighting game, so I'll stay away from this. Speaking of RPCS3, I guess we should talk about APS3E, which showed up this week as an Android emulator for RPCS3, or PS3 emulation. Let me see if I have the order of things right so I can best explain to you what all went down this week. A developer named Aenu, A-E-N-U, created a GitHub and it had a working build of RPCS3 ported to Android. And then he said he would release the source code if it hit $2,000 in donations. Those of you listening at home probably recognize the first red flag when you hear it. Then people dug in, and I wasn't able to confirm this, but it looks like, or it sounds like, this is just RPCS3 wrapped in Termux, which is basically just emulating RPS3. So it's not native to Android, it's not been ported, it's just an emulation layer, is my understanding. Now, the GitHub at this point has been taken down, apparently by the actual creator, and of course the files still exist because it's the internet, and you can find them. Now, this wouldn't matter so much if it actually didn't work, where it actually does work. I've seen a lot of videos on people just playing RPCS3 games and testing it out and seeing if it works, all that sort of thing. So there is a lot of layers to this weirdness, I guess. There is the whole donations thing, $2,000 for code that isn't theirs, and all they did was kind of port it. Then there's the whole removing of the GitHub. There's the fact that this all works. There is a lot of layers here that are very confusing. My unsolicited 2 cents on this one is that I don't care if it's legit or not. This all seems fishy. And so I'll just wait for something to show up that is not fishy, that doesn't ring off alarm bells when you hear it or see it. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. So I'll wait for a PS3 emulator on Android when one shows up that's actually legitimate. Long story short, if you want to try and find the APK, you probably can. I don't know exactly where it is. You can test it out. I don't know if I would suggest it, but if it's something you're interested in and you're just bored, then go ahead and try and find it and check it out. It's PS3 on Android, and you can see what's going on there. Popular Nintendo DS emulator Drastic is gone from the Google Play Store. Now, this one isn't too shocking. The developer did say while ago that he would be taking it down as well as releasing the source code at some point, but I guess it just showed up out of nowhere and he hasn't said anything, so I guess this one just comes out of left field and not a lot of people are aware of it, but either way, it sounds like he's just kind of fulfilling the promises he made from way back when, and it's gone from the Play Store now. Now, honestly, I had completely forgot about Drastic existing until right now. On Android, I use other options. There is Melon DS Core in RetroArch. That's what I personally use. There is also the Melon DS standalone app, and that's right off the Google Play Store. And those are kind of the two that I've seen or used. Mostly I just stick to that Melon DS Core in RetroArch. That is my favorite one. However, Drastic, and this doesn't affect today's story because it's the Google Play Store, but Drastic is useful on lower end hardware. That's still the best option for that. That's why you see it on a lot of Linux lower end powered devices. It's just the best option that we have. A lot of these RetroArch cores for DS just don't fare well when it comes to lower end hardware, which is a shame because they have retro achievements. So if somebody could adjust that, that would be fantastic. But either way, Drastic, gone from the Google Play Store. We don't know what's going on yet, if they're going to release the source code, all that sort of thing. So keep an eye out. We should hear a little bit more at some point pretty soon. Question of the week. How much does repairability factor into your purchase of a handheld or a device or really anything? Now, this one comes with a story. I had a user who I spoke to through DMs, and they had bought an AYN Loki. I think it was the Max or something. And the battery is just kaput, gone, dead. Reached out to AYN. They said they have no batteries, unfortunately. So you're on your own. And he's kind of left now with an AYN Loki that works, but has no battery and couldn't find a battery online. I tried to help him searching for it. Didn't seem like it was a generic type of battery that you could just find off of AliExpress or anywhere. And so now he's stuck with a AYN Loki that basically goes from a handheld to now a stationary mini PC, because all you can do is keep it plugged in for it to work. So this kind of opened my eyes a little bit to something that I've never really thought about, and it is the repairability of these devices. If you can't find the battery, are you just SOL? If they run out of batteries, are you SOL? And in this scenario, it hasn't been so long from the Loki that they should be out of parts already, but I'm thinking of other options, like the Retroid Pocket 4 Pro. If you needed a battery right now, could you get one? Or any other device, any of the Anbernic devices, all that sort of thing. Not sure how generic they are that you could find them on AliExpress, or even just other parts. So I'm curious, does any of this factor into things that you buy, or is there a price limit threshold where you're like, if it's over $300, then it needs to have parts, that sort of thing? But let me know in the comments, I'm curious. Okay, so we have some more Flip 2 news, and this one is a trailer that they've released. It always makes me laugh how serious these trailers get. Like, it's just like, this is the best product you've ever seen before. And just the seriousness of these trailers just get me. But let's look at it. The very first thing that I thought of seeing this is a very thick boy. It looks very, very thick at first glance. Nowhere near what the original Retroid Pocket Flip looks like, from what I could tell. Then we have some confirmation that there is Hall effect analog sticks, which is great. My next thought was laughing about the showing off of the lanyard hole, because tangent aside, are there people out there that are using lanyard holes or lanyards? I have to know, because I've never once seen anybody in public use a lanyard hole at all, but I'm sure there's people out there. So is this a feature that you're looking for? Let me know. They show off the hinge opening fully to 180 degrees, which is awesome. And I'm hoping, or it does seem like, you could open the hinge to any spot that you like instead of just specific spots. That is my hope, and it seems like that is the case, but we don't know. You can also see the volume keys on the side as well, and I'm wondering if those get in the way as you're holding, because you have to hold the device a little bit more upwards towards the top for where the sticks are, but we'll see. There's a shot of the backside, all puns intended, and you can see that we have analog triggers once again with the shoulders, which is great. There's active cooling, which is to be expected, and I'm hoping that is a lot better than the one in the Flip 1, because that had all sorts of coil whine and noise that I'm just hoping this one doesn't. SD card slot, headphone jack, and USB-C, which I imagine will do USB-C video out as well. So my thoughts at the end here are, I don't really have any thoughts. This is kind of expected stuff at this point. Nothing really shocking here except maybe the lanyard hole, but everything else is kind of as expected from what you would expect to have in a Flip 2. I think most of you are waiting on an actual official spec list, and I mean, we can guess most of it at this point, and I don't think it's going to be a surprise, but it is going to be a Retroid Pocket 5 in a Flip 2 design. So to me, that means that this is going to be a 5.5-inch AMOLED 1080p screen, same as the Retroid Pocket 5, 8 gigabytes of RAM, because I don't think they'll go back to 6 gigabytes at this point, Snapdragon 865, which absolutely makes sense, and Android 13, with all of the other specs of Wi-Fi and Bluetooth and all that. My one concern is they're going to stick with 128 gigabytes of internal storage, and I'm hoping they just go to 256 for this, but I'm almost certain that it is going to be 128 still, which is unfortunate. Battery-wise, I would fully expect the same 5,000 milliamp hour battery. There is no reason to change that. The original Flip had a 5,000 milliamp hour battery, so if that has that, you can fit one into this one, which seems like it's bigger. That's all I can really say. I'm almost 100% certain this is just a Retroid Pocket 5 in a Flip 2. And the only thing that I have as a worry currently is the comfort. And I know a lot of people have reached out in the last video that Stick's top should be more comfortable, but we don't know that. We have no idea. When it comes to clamshells, when it comes to devices like this, it's a case-by-case basis. So we'll see. That is my only worry at the moment, is just the comfort of it, because the original Flip was pretty comfortable to me. It wasn't perfect, but it was comfortable enough. So I'm really hoping this just follows that lead, and we'll see. By the way, did you know that we have a Game of the Month and a ROM Hack of the Month on the Discord? You can come play the Game of the Month, which is Medieval, fun little game, and the ROM Hack of the Month is Wario Land 4 Parallel World, which is also pretty fun. So if you want to play some games and you don't know what to play, come join the Discord and join us. Jumping over to game news now, and I found this one to be pretty surprising, but nearly half of Steam users are still on Windows 10. As somebody who held off a little bit before upgrading to Windows 11, just do it, I guess. I get the hesitation, and I'm not sure if there's specific reasons for a lot of people that are avoiding Windows 11, but if you don't have that specific reason, then just do it. Honestly, I don't think I would go back to Windows 10 at this point. I find Windows 11 to be quite better than Windows 10. And that's just my experience. It's been my thoughts, but I can't say I've had any issues really with Windows 11. The main issue I think a lot of people are going to have is that context menu being different on Windows 11, which is an easy registry fix to just change it back to the Windows 10 one. Otherwise, you get all of the benefits of newer operating system, all that sort of thing, and it's been good to me. I don't know. The auto HDR is a lot better. The way that it handles sound is a lot better. I had a lot of issues in the past with connecting a whole sound system to Windows, and Windows 10 would have so many issues, but Windows 11 handles it like a champ. All these sorts of improvements, things like that. But yeah, I'm curious. If you're still on Windows 10, what's keeping you there? Why are you there? Xbox sales are hitting rock bottom. Apparently, in 2024, Xbox only sold 2.7 million units across the entire year. That is insanely low, but it also is not shocking to me. I could walk into Gamestop and you see stacks on stacks of just used Xboxes being traded in for what I'm assuming is PlayStations and all that sort of thing. But I don't know. Xbox going forward is going to be very different now. They are still going to do consoles, I'm sure, for a little bit longer, but now with the whole multi-platform publishing of games, the fact that they are trying to get cloud everywhere, all that sort of thing, we are looking at a different Xbox, but I'm not sure how much of a difference it's going to make. Their cloud service is still not great. I mean, GeForce Now is still the best cloud service that I've experienced. The Xbox cloud service has not been great. You can't pick whether it's a 30 or 60 FPS server. Sometimes you'll jump into Forza Horizon 5 and it's 30 FPS and you're like, oh, this feels gross. But there's a lot of things they need to do. There's latency issues, all that sort of thing. So yeah, nobody's buying Xboxes anymore, which isn't surprising to me, but also I'm very curious to see what Xbox looks like going forward. Gamestop is trying to sell their French and Canadian operations. And as a Canadian, I can only say goodbye. Look, I would absolutely love for it to become EB Games all over again, because that's what it was before GameStop bought them. I don't know if that'll actually happen, but GameStop is just not GameStop anymore. There is less of a need for GameStop nowadays, with most purchases now going over to digital for systems, and even systems now like the PS5 Pro that don't even have a disk drive anymore. And the fact that when you walk into GameStop, it is just Funkoland, and there is statues and all that everywhere. That is the only thing I've bought from GameStop in the last few years has been statues. I haven't bought a video game from them in can't even remember the last time. They used to have really good trade-in deals, all that sort of thing, and that's what I used to do. But with the recent shift towards digital, I don't even bother anymore with physical. So yeah, that's their plan, is to move away from French and Canadian operations. Honestly, the biggest news from this is their jackhole of a CEO, Ryan Cohen, and the tweet that he made that announced this whole thing. Because does everybody just suck nowadays? Does every single CEO, company, billionaire, multimillionaire, does everybody just suck? Is that the whole play at this point? Is just show everybody in the world how much you suck and nothing happens about it? But let me read this tweet because I want to read it word for word, especially for my podcast listeners, so you can listen to the audacity of this guy. Okay, quoting the entire thing here. Email mnagamestop.com if you're interested in buying GameStop Canada or Micromania France. High taxes, liberalism, socialism, progressivism, wokeness, and DEI included, and no additional cost if you buy today. End quote. That is a CEO of a multi-million-dollar company. And this is just normal nowadays. Like, people don't even blink at this kind of stuff. That is just crazy. Anyways, people suck nowadays, especially this guy. But GameStop is moving away from France and Canada, and sure, goodbye. That is all for the news today, so let's get into some fun stuff. First thing, what am I playing? And the answer is pretty much the exact same as last week, but I moved on from Ace Attorney Trilogy, beat that. I am now in the middle of Apollo Justice. I bought Apollo Justice, then I bought the Investigations games, and then I have the Phoenix versus Professor Layton game on my 3DS, so I am fully set for this whole order. But right now I'm playing Apollo Justice. I'm very confused because they did a time skip. I have no idea what's going on, but I'm hoping I get some answers because I'm on episode 4, so I'm assuming I'll get some answers at the end of this. Otherwise, I'm still making my way through Game of the Month and ROM Hack of the Month. And also, I've actually not brought this up, but in the last few months, I have playing a game called AFK Journey. It is a mobile idle game. And no, this isn't sponsored. Don't worry about all that. It is a game that I saw on the Game Awards as it was listed in the best mobile game category. And I'm like, I have never played that. And I actually like idle games. So I downloaded it. And it is actually super good for an AFK idle game. It is not so much that you play quite a bit of it, but I would highly suggest if you've ever liked, I don't know, AFK idle type of games, Tap Titans, Eulela Idle Adventure, AFK Arena, which apparently is the same developers, all those types of games, then give this a shot. I would challenge you to look at this game and be like, this is just an idle gacha game, because it absolutely isn't. There is a production value here. There is a level of not even needing to buy anything that is absolutely great. And I'm gushing about an AFK game right now, but it is really good. It's the only thing that I've played probably the most of in the last few months, and I play it quite a bit every day. It's really good. Check it out, AFK Journey. Okay, so let's get into some Q&A. Newscast@joeysretrohandhelds.com is the email address. Thank you all to those that sent in your emails, because we have some things to talk about today. There's also a channel in my Discord where you can send it there if you prefer. So you have two options to send in some questions. This email comes in from Mike, and I'm going to paraphrase this email, but the general question is, how do content creators get paid in this niche? So we're starting off with a very strong question here, and I'm sure a lot of you have probably thought about this as well. I'm sure a lot of you also have maybe misconceptions about all of this, because I've seen some threads pop up on Reddit, all that sort of thing, and they're all wrong. And so let me help you, I guess, and just share how this all works. So, of course, there is YouTube revenue, and I have some notes. I'm just going to read off of them, but there is YouTube revenue, and the way that we get paid in this niche, at least, it's an average of about $4 per 1,000 views. So, very simple way to do it. Take any video that you see in this niche, divide it by 1,000, and multiply it by $4. That should give you an on average throughout the year of what the creator would be making off of that video. Now, that number fluctuates throughout the year. During Christmas, it gets a little bit higher because there's more ad spend during Christmas by advertisers, and because that's how we make our money, that is exactly what happens. And right now, January, February becomes a little bit lower, but on average, $4 is generally the number. Now, you can also go to websites like Social Blade or ViewStats, and that'll show you content creators' views throughout the year. You can check it on a month basis, on a year basis, and I can tell you that those numbers are pretty accurate. So if you're curious at all about what somebody makes, you could go check it yourself and do all those calculations, and that'll tell you what their YouTube revenue is, at least. But then, of course, we have affiliate payments, and I would not be able to do what I do full time if affiliate payments didn't exist. And I hate that they exist, and I hate that I have to rely on them, but it's just a fact of it. I have to. If I didn't have affiliate payments, I wouldn't be able to do this at all. And those make up, and I'll give you a number, those made up last year 44% of my total revenue, total income from doing content creation. And 44% probably means nothing to you without a base number to look at, but I can tell you that I did make over my sub amount if you took $1 per sub last year. So you can use that to make your calculations. And I guess just on that topic, subs are meaningless when it comes to money. We don't make any money by subs at all. There is no revenue by sub. It doesn't matter how many subs you have. Even sponsors don't care how many subs you have. All anybody cares about is views. Your monthly average views, your actual views per video, your last 10 videos average views, all that sort of thing. That is the only thing that matters to everything. How we get paid, how sponsors see us, all of it. Subs are meaningless. But you should still like and subscribe because that's how you get notified about my videos. Now, the affiliate conversation is actually pretty funny because I've seen, like I said before, Reddit posts pop up and they all have it wrong because I've seen a lot of comments about affiliate payments are really low. These content creators don't get a lot of money through affiliates, all that sort of thing. But no, it's, in my case at least, thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars. In larger content creators, we are talking hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I'm sure you could point to different content creators that would fit for, but you could do those calculations. I gave you the number. And I'm betting that I am probably on the lower end with 44% of my total income being affiliate payments because, again, I do very critical type reviews. I am very much on the opposite end of a lot of YouTube in that way, where when I have a device that I don't like or that isn't great, I'm not sugarcoating it, and so I get less people buying from my affiliate link. So that 44% is probably on the lower end compared to other creators, but I don't have that number. I don't know what others get paid. I don't know what their percentage would be. But I think generally, a very simple way for me, at least, to look at it would be take what they make from a YouTube revenue perspective and then double it. That would be my guess. So if it's $4 per thousand in YouTube revenue, then double that number because 44% of my income is affiliates and all that. So it's easy enough to just say a quick 50%. You could just double it and that'll give you a number. Now, the percentage per item does vary. There are some devices that it's like 3%, 6%. I've seen as high as 10% on like the Miu Mini Plus on AliExpress. And that was like during a sale 2 weeks ago or something. It's varying and there's no actual answer there. And then when you get to Amazon, where all the SD cards, USB card readers, all that stuff, all those fluctuate as well. And so there is no actual good number as to what the average percentage per item is. But I will say that Amazon is one of the higher affiliate links that I have just because of SD cards, SD card readers, all that sort of thing. That does help a lot. I got to be honest, I would very much not like to use affiliate links ever, but it's just not feasible at this point. I would need, can't remember, I calculated it a while ago. It was like I needed 700 Patreon users as of today to replace that income. That is insane to ask for because my Patreon users aren't that high. But I would need something like that. And then for that number to keep growing exponentially as we go, because that's just how much affiliates do. And personally, I don't care too much about affiliates as much as I do need and rely on them. I'm sure you could tell from my reviews that I couldn't care less about affiliates and all that, because if I did, I would be making entirely different reviews. But another reason is because in 2024, one of the best-selling devices on my list, from what I remember, was the Retroid Pocket 4 Pro, a device that I actually didn't do a full review on, a device that I was very vocal that I did not like. And so that still ended up being one of the best kind of sellers on, it's so gross to say, but it really is on the list. So that is kind of the scenario in this niche. And then lastly, there is, of course, sponsorship. So I'm sure you've seen me do Ugreen, PCBWay, things like that. And those are scenarios where it's, hey, we want you to do an advertisement for our brand. It is 60 or 90 seconds in your video. We are going to pay you for that. And so you do that sort of thing. And those should be taken as clear advertisements for that brand. It is an advertisement for Ugreen. It is an advertisement for PCBWay. I just happen to really like Ugreen, and so it worked out where I get to sponsor or get sponsored by them occasionally. But then occasionally you might get a video that is sponsored. And I actually just did one for ELO, Vagabond, the weird name for controller, but the telescopic controller, because they are doing a very big push right now, sponsoring creators to look at their controller and all that sort of thing. I only agreed to that one because I was allowed to say whatever I wanted. There was no restrictions. Usually on a sponsorship, there is restrictions on what you can and can't say. They'll read over your script and all that sort of thing. But ELO was just like, hey, just do whatever video you want. And I was like, okay, cool. But Ugreen, PCBWay, it's usually you work with them on a script, you come up with something, you make it your own, all that sort of thing. But you have to stick to certain things they want you to say because they are sponsoring it. It is an advertisement, it is a commercial. That's the way that you look at it. The current amount that I make on sponsorships is actually really low comparatively because you kind of need a larger channel for views before you start to get those sorts of big sponsorship requests. Like 40 to 50,000 views per video is the general thing. And I'm probably never going to ever hit that. So it's fine. But that is generally where you start to see large sorts of sponsorships. You get paid a lot of money for those, but not there yet. So at some point. But again, this all ties into what you get paid. It is YouTube revenue, is affiliate payments, and it is sponsorship payments. Those are the three pillars of how content creators really get paid. You could include Patreon and all that sort of thing if you want, but for the most part, it's the other ones. Quick side note, I absolutely love questions like this about financials, all that sort of thing. I am very deep into that. I'm sure if you've seen me on the Discord talk about credit card churning, financial parts, all of that sort of thing, I love all that. So yeah, don't be scared to send those in. I love them. Let's move on to the next question. This one comes in from Super Bottle. Joey, if you had to pick between a mule and a camel to transport illegal handhelds post tariffs without Google searching, which do you think would be more effective and why? Okay, so mule versus camel for transporting handhelds. My mind instantly went to like a desert, and I'm like, okay, so a camel in the desert is probably better because that's the only thing I can think of is like an Aladdin type scenario where you have a camel in a desert, and a mule probably in like a fantasy type scenario where you're like traveling on an adventure and you got your mule with you. So I don't know, is there a difference there? Does it depend on the location? Is the mule better in like a more foresty kind of Viking type area? I don't know, but my probable answer here is I'm gonna go with mule, just because it's always whenever you think of transporting something, the pack mule, all that sort of thing is what comes to mind. So that's my answer. I don't know. Let me know if I'm right or wrong. Next question. This one comes from Michael Benny. The Ioneo DMG is deliciously overpowered for systems that emulate in native 4x3. The Anbernic 406V and H feel like they are reaching peak 4x3. Is there a ceiling for you where it no longer makes sense to pump more power into a 4x3 handheld? This is a great question, but I don't think I agree with him on one point. I'm not sure that the 406V or H are peak 4x3. For me, peak 4x3 is the Retroid Pocket Mini. And actually, that's probably my answer. The Snapdragon 865. That is the peak 4x3 processor to me. There is a gulf of difference between the 406V and H and the Retroid Pocket Mini in terms of performance. There is a lot that the 406 series can't do for 4x3 systems, especially when it comes to PS2 and GameCube, whereas the Retroid Pocket Mini absolutely can. So I think that's my answer. Snapdragon 865. That is my limit for 4x3. I don't think we need to go further than that if it's a 4x3 device. This next question comes in from teatime_gaming, who actually, if you've seen my mug on my desk in all of my videos, he's the one who made that for me. So he's awesome. Thank you to him. But the question is, okay, We found out recently that Dark Souls and FromSoft games are not Joey games. We also know that Bags Are Full games are not Joey games. What are Joey games? Could you pick a favorite per genre? Favorite turn-based RPG, action RPG, platformer, sports game, etc. When is the last time you played these favorite games? Okay, so some context is needed for this. This week, Avowed came out, and I was like, I'm going to try out Avowed. And within the first half an hour, I knew this wasn't going to be a game for me because I saw that there was a carrying capacity limit and you could upgrade your carrying capacity. And instantly I was like, okay, so this is going to be a Bethesda type Fallout sort of scenario where you're going to hit a limit on how much you can carry. It's going to slow you down. You can't walk anymore. These are not my type of games. This is not what I'm looking for. Avowed was actually pretty cool for a little bit that I paid for it, but I knew it wasn't going to be a me type of game, and I said so in the Discord, and this is what led to this question. So I guess my answer is as to what a Joey game is, and I'm not going to do a favorite per system, per genre, all that, because that would take way too long. But for me, it is story games. Doesn't matter the genre. Could be action RPG, could be turn-based, could be sports. It really doesn't matter. But my answer is all about story. That is what keeps me going. It is why probably my favorite games in the last 10 years are all from Sony's first-party studios. Last of Us, Marvel Spider-Man, God of War, all of these types of games that are all story-driven games, they get to me. That's what I'm looking for. Those are what make me go far into a game, is the story. That's what hooks me. Gameplay in a lot of scenarios just, it doesn't. There are some scenarios where I'm like, I love this gameplay. And a lot of the times it's a turn-based game, like a Persona, for example, which also has a really good story. So for me, it is a lot of times just story. That's what gets me. And it doesn't matter the genre. But my favorite types of genre is probably turn-based. That is one of my top favorites, I think. Maybe action-adventure at some point afterwards, depending on the game. But yeah, I don't really have a favorite genre. I play a lot of different things. It's why Ace Attorney right now has me completely hooked. It's why Danganronpa is one of my favorite series of all time. All that sort of thing. It's all about story. This next question was emailed in by Kyle, and I'm just going to paraphrase this one. Kyle wants to know if I backed the MCon controller, and given how great Apollo streaming is, he has no interest in buying new handhelds. But his phone with the MCon controller would be perfect, although the challenge of playing games on a cell phone that gets notifications and all of that can cause problems. I appreciate the email, Kyle. So I actually did check out the MCon controller when I was at CES, and I can't remember if it was in my CES video or not. I might have missed putting that in, but I did check it out there. And my thoughts are, it seems like it's a cool type of device. I did not back it at all. It's just not something I'm interested in. It's not something I would use or care about too much. I would review it and check it out, but telescopic controllers, mobile controllers, not something that I'm looking for. And most of the reason is exactly what you're calling out here. When you play on your phone, you get notifications quite a bit. I'll get my emails, I'll get Blue Sky notifications, I'll get Discord notifications, I get all these sorts of things that pop up. And you can throw it on Do Not Disturb, you could turn all that stuff off, all of that, but at the end of the day, it is still my phone. It is still, there is some mental barrier there that I just cannot surpass. No matter how good my phone is, and I have an S24 Ultra, and it is pretty good, but it is just not what I'm looking for. Whereas my Odin 2 Portal with an OLED screen, 120 Hz, Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, all of that is perfect. It is bigger, of course, but that is what I'm looking for. A better built-in device, built-in controls. There is no compromise on the controls because it has to meet a certain size limit, all that sort of thing. So yeah, I think the MCon looks cool. I think a lot of people will probably be happy with it. I wouldn't back it because that's just the person I am. I don't back things like that. I usually wait for first, second batch just to see what problems, things like that happen, especially for a newer company. But it looks cool. I'm would love to check it out and interested in reviewing it, but not something that me as a whole or me outside of reviewing would be super interested in, if that makes sense. That is all we have this week. Again, newscast at joeysretrohandhelds.com. I really appreciate those who are sending in emails because it helps, and some of these are really fun to do. So send them in or come join the Discord. There's a channel there where you can send in the questions, and that way we have some more for next week. I appreciate you all for watching, and that's all from me. Trois Pistol, Quebec. Trois Pistol. Oh, this is really going to hurt me with the French listeners. Trois, it is Trois, and then pistoles. It's not. I'm going at it with a Spanish accent in French. Trois Pistol. That I didn't look this up ahead of time on purpose because I never do. And that, yeah, sorry, Quebec.